to, because if you're a creative person, you're a creative person. You can't deny that. You have to find some outlet for it. I don't think that people are an actor because they decide one day they want to be an actor. They're an actor because that's who they are in their cells, in their being, and they have to find some outlet for it. And if they don't, they become very frustrated. So Mark had to find, more outlets for that, as I did too. As you get older, you have to find more outlets for it.
Yeah. With a development of a script for an episode, let's say that an episode's made, how much input do you have?
Well, as they got to know me, there are a lot of egos involved in the process, as you can imagine. The writers and the artists, these are all people with very healthy egos, and they all have their own take on the way the show should be developed. But everyone has to give and take a little bit. So initially, I had to be very respectful of everyone else's territory, and, I almost felt like a guest because I was new to this whole thing. But as they grew to trust me more and more as an actor and write more towards me, they actually would say, okay, look, what would Batman say here? We can't think of, put yourself in this situation. We can't think of what exactly, would say. And I was so honored when they started asking me things like that, because I thought, boy, they really trust me now. But I have a little bit of input, but it's their game, really.
Is it just kind of the idea that you throw an idea at them and they might or might not use it kind of thing?
Yeah. And they usually respect my take on stuff. And if I say something just feels wrong, they go with that.
Would that just be with a character or a storyline or something like that?
No, with certain lines that they might have me say if I think it's too theatrical, or if I say, look, Bruce would just never say this, and Batman would say, they'll usually go with that. And they usually agree.
Okay. You've worked with several different actors throughout the show. Ron Perlman did a character, and I know Roddy McDowall did the Mad Hatter.
Right.
Who did you enjoy working with the most, and why?
Oh, boy. That's very hard. I've enjoyed working with everyone on the show. It's been this is going to sound like I'm just being very political, but it's true. They've brought in such an interesting group of actors. I love working with Mark Hamill. Roddy McDowall was fantastic. Who was really extraordinary was Mark came in about 3 or 4 episodes into it. The initial Joker was Tim Curry, and he was fantastic, but he was almost too scary. He was too dark. So Mark came in and was able to balance it with a more kind of insane humor, which was the way they wanted to go. And Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., who was Alfred for a long time, is a really sweet man. He was wonderful to work with.
He had a very good Alfred voice, I must say.
Wasn't he? Yeah. And he was very sort of paternal towards me, which was nice. I mean, outside the set, he was very protective of me because he knew I was kind of new to animation. And I actually...
It definitely comes across on the voice acting.
It did. It came over. And I didn't know him, but his daughter, Stephanie, was at Juilliard around the same time I was, and I knew her slightly from then. We weren't close friends, but I knew her slightly. So there was that connection, too. I mean, Gene Smart came in, and Gene and I had done a season at the Hartford Stage Company together 25 years ago, where I was Orestes, and she was Clytemnestra. And, we did the Greeks. It was a wonderful production, but we were really, tearing each other's guts out every night. And that was 25 years ago. And then we ended up doing some episodes of Batman together. It's a funny business that way, how your paths tend to cross and recross. It's fun.
Looking at some of the actors that have done it, they've now gone on to do other series, and they're a lot more well-known. I mean, Ron Perlman went on to do Hellboy.
Right.
How does it feel for you to look at these guys, and they've gone on to, I guess, they've gone on to a higher level? Not to say that that's bad or anything, but, that they're so talented in the studio that they've taken it to series. I mean, do you feel proud that you've kind of worked with these people?
Oh, yeah, and everyone, it's a business where who's up and who's down depends on the day of the week, kind of, you know what I mean? I mean, everyone has their day, and Ron Perlman was going through a long dry period when he came on Batman, and then suddenly Hellboy came along. People, you never know. You never count anyone out, I think, in this business, because if they're good, they're going to have their day again. Someone's going to find something for them. I'm never surprised when someone who's talented hits their stride again. I'm never surprised because they deserve it. Ron Perlman's a good actor. He deserved to have another show come along. that featured him. I'm just always surprised when people who aren't talented get big shows. Because they're the ones that shock me. But on Batman, no. Anyone who's been on that show has tended to be really pretty good. So I'm always happy when other people... look, the more people that work, the better it is for all of us, because everyone generates work for everybody else, so it's good.
In terms of your own performance, what's been your favorite episode of the Batman series?
I think it's hard for me to be objective, because I look at them from an acting point of view. You might look at them from an artistic point of view, or, the whole episode. But for me, selfishly, as an actor, the most fun episode was Perchance to Dream, which is largely in black and white. And it's the one where Batman is drugged, and he's going in and out of these hallucinations, and he's fantasizing about his childhood and his father. And I had I did Batman, Bruce Wayne, young Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne Sr. So I did 4 voices. And then there was the drugged Batman, which is the 5th voice. So I had to do 5 voices in that episode, all of them believably related, but all of them distinct. And they let me do it in real time. So I was jumping in and out of character. So I had a blast recording that show. I had a lot of fun. And I love the fact that they did a lot of it in black and white. It's very noir, and I think it's a great show.
One of the great things about the animated series is some of the episodes deal with Batman in emotional situations which deal with his past. One of which was I think it was the Nothing to Fear episode with, there's that now quoted line, "I am vengeance." When recording that episode, did you think that line and the episode would be a big hit with fans?
Yeah, when you're doing certain lines, you know that they're going to echo. And that I knew when I did that line. Everyone burst into applause after I was done in that recording, because everyone just knew that line was going to resonate for a long time. So yeah, there are certain lines you do when you just know. They're so powerful.
Since the original series, you've continued to voice your characters for many different versions of the Batman series. You've done Batman Beyond, I know you did the Justice League as well. Has there ever been a project in that franchise that you've been unhappy with for any particular reason? I mean, especially as it becomes harder on the creators, on their part, to come up with new and original ideas for episodes.
Well, that's an interesting question. No, I approach each one as an actor and as an acting job. I haven't been unhappy with any of it because, primarily the writers have remained pretty consistent. Bruce Timm has been behind most everything. Paul Dini was only in the original show, but Bruce has been pretty consistently throughout. So that's been a constant thread. And Andrea Romano has been the director for all of them. So it's always been very fulfilling to me. I haven't had a problem with any of it. The hardest one probably was the Justice League, just because I had to share the stage with 5 other. Well, how many other are there? There's 6 other people. So that you never have as much of a script. You'll be in the episode and you only have 5 lines because you're sharing the stage with 6 other people. So that's it's not quite as fulfilling, just because you don't have as much acting to do. But the other characters were terrific. So that one I just didn't have as much to do in.
Have you changed anything about your portrayal of the characters you've done since you began the Batman series?
Well, the fun thing was evolving him as he aged and doing old Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond. That was fun, because I had to go to a very gravelly place in my throat, which makes it the emotional range you can get down there is not as great. So it made the performance harder. But yeah, the characters evolved, definitely evolved.
I wanted to just ask you said, in terms of Batman with emotional, one of my favorite storylines is the stuff with Two-Face. When they initially made that character up, I forget who the voice actor is for him, but that was one of the best storylines for me of Batman, because it was, it was one of those situations where it's not, they sort of went in Batman Forever and it was really comical and everything, but in that, it sort of stuck to the comics in a way that Batman isn't quite gonna kill Two-Face. He's trying to save him, but he's always trying to save him, but you can't pull him quite back. How interesting is it to do storylines like that?
Yeah, very interesting. That actor, I'm blanking on his name. Did you ever see a series called Night Court that Harry Anderson did?
No.
Oh, that actor was on that series.